Of the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board for Monday, May 4th to order. And I see we have a quorum, so we're good to go tonight. I don't see any change in the meeting agenda. Is there anything coming from anybody else that would require a change? Art?
No, the agenda stands.
Members? Okay, so the meeting agenda will stand as circulated. You've received the planning consultant's meeting notes. I have a motion to accept those. So moved. Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. We had hoped to have 3 sets of meeting minutes for your review and acceptance tonight, but we only have available the March 2nd minutes. Have you all had a chance to look at those? Mm-hmm. Any changes? Woody? Okay, any changes, corrections, additions? Have a motion to accept the March 2nd minutes?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Any correspondence, non-agenda items? I have nothing. Anyone else?
I want to go back to the minutes. I just want to point out that from both Brendan's standpoint and my standpoint, the April 6th minutes have been ready for the board's acceptance. They're someplace in cyberspace.
They're lost in translation.
Did anyone get them?
I got them, but I couldn't open them.
You got my email then, Eric? You got the email, my email transmittal of those minutes?
I got the transmittal. Now you're asking me if I open them. Now that
okay.
I can't actually.
Yeah, but you did get the transmittal.
I did, yes.
That makes me feel good because my records say that it did go through. Okay.
I did get it.
Well,
So it didn't make it, somehow apparently it didn't make it to town hall.
and Sharon had an issue opening them, so there's some kind of glitch going on, but we'll hope to have that corrected and have both May 5th and April 6th ready. All right. Looking ahead, we're anticipating, Art and I have talked, and we're anticipating the need for a second meeting, a special meeting during June. As you recall, as in previous years, June to July is when we make the switch from the first Monday of the month to the third Monday of the month going forward for the remainder of the year. It's a very long gap. The planning board meeting is falling on June 1st, so that's as early as we can get it. And the July one will be the 20th of July. So there's a very considerable amount of time between those two meetings and some applications that look like they'll be moving forward a little more quickly. So if I could have you take a look at June, Brennan, were you able to check on any scheduled meetings that might conflict?
They're pretty open for what you want on Mondays.
Yeah,
If you want to keep it to a Monday.
I think we prefer to keep it to a Monday. Art, you had an idea of...
Well, the 15th is always reserved, and I checked too, the 15th is always reserved for the planning board. Why the 15th is not such a practical date is it doesn't really close that 7-week gap by very much. The 29th, which is a fifth Monday, which is reserved to no one, is available. And that then closes that gap very appreciably by having a 4-week before and a 3-week after. And seems to tie into both what we anticipate to be the processing of the Grassmere application as well as 1 or 2 other applications that may be here in the next month.
So that being said, how does June 29th look for folks in terms of availability? Everybody good? All right. Then let's schedule the second June meeting, special meeting, to be June 29th, 6:30.
Okay.
Thank you, Brennan. All right. It is 6:35, and that brings us to the first public hearing of the evening under Town Code Chapter 125 Zoning, Chapter 120 Wetlands, Chapter 78 Historic Buildings. Catherine Whitman Architecture, on behalf of Dunya Van Stoddard, 362 Rhinecliff Road, special use permit, site plan and wetlands permit. This is a continuation from April 6, 2015 of combined public hearing on applications for special use permit, home occupation, site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125, and wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 120 in the matter of proposed demolition of a shed, conversion of an existing garage to art studio, construction of a new garage and related site improvements on tax map parcel within the rural agricultural RA10 district, Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, and LWRA, being a type 1 action under seeker. Good evening, Kathleen. How are you?
Good.
Good. All right.
Should I just go through the package?
I think you should,
Okay.
in case there's public here.
This is the site plan, and there's federal wetlands in this pond, and then a local wetland bordering the north end of the property. So each has a 100-foot buffer, which makes most of the property retire, especially we're proposing to turn the existing garage into an art studio for silk screen printing, and to reroute the driveway along the north boundary of the property and build a new garage north of the house in the wetlands buffer. There's an existing generator and propane tank, which we are not moving, although the CAB report
We'll get to-
understands that we're moving it, but that wasn't the intention to ever move it. We were asking for a variance because it's slightly in front of the house, and it should be behind the house. So in relocating the driveway, we have to trim some evergreen trees and take down a newly planted dogwood and an evergreen that's quite dead, if you look at the photos. And I've shown the chemicals that would be used in the studio. And they're water-based inks, so I don't think anyone had a problem with that.
Eric, were all your questions regarding that satisfied?
They were, basically they were satisfied by the minuscule amount being used. So I don't know if there's, any limitation going to be set on the amount to be used, but that was the majority of my concerns, and it was answered by the
Okay.
very small.
All right, do you want to, thank you, Catherine.
Public comment?
You want to do that before you want
Well, I think all of
planning
the...
board? Is there anybody here to make
To
a
speak.
public comment on this application? Okay.
All the procedural requirements have been met.
Okay. Now, your site visit, did you report on that last month?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
quickly reported on it, yes.
All right.
And the procedural requirements were reported on then, too.
Okay.
The only thing that remained was the consideration of the amended wetland application.
All right.
The amended wetland application dealt with the requirement that the delineation occur of the wetland, and that it be shown, the flagging be shown on a survey map, and that surveyor's map was produced by Mike Cartier and submitted dated April 7th.
Okay. We have a report from the CAB. No, we're just going to suggest this is a building.
Good evening, Chair, fellow board members. Ryan Dowden, Chair of the Conservation Advisory Board and Waterfront Advisory Committee. I just came up first because I was the one who submitted the consistency review. I did not draft it. Yes, Conservation Board member who did go on the site visit was Sharon and Eric, and as well who drafted the consistency review was Bob Ockhouse. So I'm going to let him take over and go through the matters with the board.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Good evening. There were some questions that came up at the site visit and follow-up reports. The first one dealt with the generator. The reason why I brought that question up with the generator was because there was a ZBA variance asking for removal of a generator from the back of the house to the front of the house. And it's also in the cover letter, and it came up in conversation what's going to happen with this generator. I raised that question so someone could find out what the answer would be. If the generator is not going to be moved, then we have a concern of the location of the generator in a driveway. Now, if does that comply with fire codes? Is there any danger, not only with the generator present there, but also a 500-gallon underground propane tank in close proximity to the driveway? If some protective measures can be conducted by the owner, engineer, architect of the property to prevent any damage to the generator and to the vent leading down to that propane tank, and then that's fine. But we need some clarification on that. Also, the driveway, at the time we did not have a survey map showing a wetland delineation. And so when we got the map, all right, the driveway there is hidden going across the wetland buffer area. We need to know what materials will be used, how far will the turnaround go from the driveway, the turnaround going into the garage. Will it now encroach upon the wetland, or will still be in the wetland buffer zone? We need to have specific information regarding that. Also, what materials will be used on the driveway? Those are our only concerns as far as for the construction of the existing building being turned into this cottage industry. We have no concerns or problems with that. As far as the destruction of the existing structure on the property, our only recommendation was that some protective measures, screening be installed by the pond area to prevent any detritus from the demolition from getting into the pond area. We also recommended that maybe some shrubbery could be placed along the western side of the pond to prevent erosion that was noticeable as we were at the site visit. Those were our concerns. Any questions?
Any questions? Catherine, do you have some comments?
About the...
Do you want to step up to the microphone, please?
Regarding the generator, the variance requested us to remedy an existing condition, and we weren't planning to move it. It was just requesting that it could stay where it is. So I understand your confusion, but it was never requested to move the generator. We were trying to get an okay on an existing non-conforming. Permit generator to be 5 feet in front where it is existing. We're asking them to please permit it to stay where it is. Is it non-compliant?
But isn't, just for clarification, isn't the existing generator on the north side, the back of the house?
It's on the north side, it's 5 feet in front of the house. If you drew a line north to south, the generator should be behind the house and it's 5 feet in front of that line. You drew the line. So it's a small non-conformity that is trying to, yeah. We weren't moving it.
Okay.
And then we proposed the distance from the propane tank to the proposed garage is in compliance with the regulations. There's a 10-foot minimum to a building which this meets, but just to allay your concerns, we proposed to put boulders around so that no one would inadvertently hit the.
That's all we need.
And then the driveway is item 4 with gravel. No asphalt.
Okay. Questions answered? All right. Ryan, did you have something else?
No further.
I have a quick question about the driveway. Will it be required that the material underneath where the driveway is going to be, that's probably a lot of organic material in it, will that be removed first and then the substrate is put down? And what will happen to the material that's removed?
Just go ahead with the draft seeker.
We can either just place it somewhere else on the property or take it off the property. It's just a small, we're not going to be going down deep, just enough to get a level footing for the
Okay. And just for my own edification, what is recommended, that it be removed or that it be maintained on the property?
I think it probably all depends on how much is removed. It's a matter of preference. I mean, it's not like it's evil
Yeah,
soil.
right.
They could probably take it and use it somewhere else. make
No,
nice
I would
flowers.
think it would be good things rather than
Yeah.
bad things, so.
To keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would imagine, I mean, unless it was unsightly, it was too much of it, you're going to put it somewhere else and grade it off.
Okay, thank you.
Art, do you have a thought?
I have no comments other than, I think, reaffirm the draft resolutions that I prepared for you, knowing that the CAB was on record with respect to questioning the generator location, the tank location, et cetera, and recognizing, in my opinion, that these were not really planning board concerns, but were matters within the purview of the building department. So I built into the both the seeker resolution and the conditional approval resolution a provision that these matters would be subject to review by the building department, and the building department recommended or required any modifications in either or both of those locations. Those modifications would be shown on the site plan before it's stamped and approved by the chair. Other than that, the resolutions, while somewhat lengthy, are straightforward, somewhat lengthy because they deal with the application for wetlands permits and the findings that you have to make in that regard, the application for a special use permit for the Class 2 home occupation, and the site plan. And also the resolutions obviously refer to all the documents that have been, don't refer, it specifically cite all the documents that have been submitted. I'm in a position of recommending that the board issue a negative declaration, then move to the closing of the public hearing if there's no further public comment, and ultimately this evening issue the conditional approval resolution.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, let me go ahead then with the draft seeker resolution.
Melody, in this case, you talked about reading of resolutions, et cetera. If you read the preamble to the seeker resolution, then you won't have to read the preamble to the approval resolution.
Okay, I like that. So I'll proceed with the preamble. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on a proposed action involving the January 12, 2015 applications by Catherine Whitman Architecture on behalf of Dunya Van Stoddard for special use permit, home occupation, and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning and wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 120 wetlands, as subsequently amended and supplemented through April 20, 2015 in the matter of the proposed conversion of an existing garage to an artist studio, construction of a new garage and associated site improvements, including SDS modifications and demolition of an existing shed on tax map parcel within the Rural Agricultural District, the Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, and the town's LWRA, all as depicted on a site plan 8.0 dated January 12, 2015, and revised to April 20, 2015, and studio plans and elevations 8.1, prepared by the applicant, an engineering report and site plan, and details for sanitary systems, drawing prepared by David Ryder, PEP LLC, and dated December 17, 2014, and a survey map prepared by Michael Viteri, Jr., LSP LLC, dated October 15, 2014, and revised to April 7, 2015, and setting forth thereon the wetlands boundary and associated buffer area delineated by Michael Nowicki on...
That's good enough. You can delete the date. I don't see it on the survey
As
drawing, but we know what
delineated
happened
by
within the past
Michael
year.
DeWicki, and otherwise described in the application and supporting documents, including a full EAF Part 1 affirmed by the applicant, a coastal assessment form and associated report by the town's Waterfront Advisory Committee, an agricultural data statement, documentation of the status of the existing shed as a non-contributing structure for the Landmarks District, and a March 4th, 2015 decision by ZBA granting required area variances. 1, determines upon review of the EAF Part 1 and its own completion of the annexed EAF Part 2, in consideration of field observations, the criteria for determining significance set forth at Title 6, Part 617.7.c NYCRR, and pertinent coastal, historic preservation, and wetlands protections policies. The proposed action, as described in the applications and being a Type 1 action due to its location within the National Historic Landmarks District, will cause no potential significant adverse impact on the environment, and thus issues a negative declaration, determination of non-significance, deeming an environmental impact statement to not be required and stating such will not be prepared. While doing so, the Planning Board acknowledges comments offered by the Town Waterfront Advisory Committee in its memorandum of April 28, 2015, concerning the location of a generator and underground propane tank, and refers these comments to the town building department for its consideration, with any recommended and/or required modifications in the site plan identified by the building department to be incorporated by the applicant in the site plan prior to its stamping and signing by the planning board chair. 2, authorizes the chair to so execute the full EAF and directs the planning board clerk to file the full EAF with negative declaration annotation as provided by the town planning consultant in the matter set forth within the seeker implementing regulations, Title 6, Part 617.12 NYCRR. May I have a motion? Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we'll take up the approval resolution after our second public hearing. Thank you. It being past 6:40, we'll move ahead to the Avery Gilbert and Zachary Bendiner, 56 Orchard Drive, Rhinecliff, special use permit and site plan. This is the conduct of a combined public hearing.
You didn't close the last hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to close the Catherine Whitman public hearing? Second? Second. All right, skipping ahead. This is a combined public hearing on applications for special use permit and site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125, and application for certificate of demolition or removal under Town Code Chapters 78 and 125 in the matter of proposed additions to and renovation of a single-family dwelling, total 2,130 square feet, and detached garage on tax map parcel at the corner of Orchard Drive and Corning Street within the Rhinecliff Hamlet and Rhinecliff Overlay Districts, the Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, and the town's LWRA being a Type 1 action under seeker. Hello, Warren.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
As you recall from meeting last month, this concerns the property at the corner of Corning Street and Orchard Drive, the northeast corner. It's a house that is sometimes referred to as the former St. Joseph's Church School, and I believe at one time it did serve that purpose. I don't know that it was built for that purpose. I think we built as residents, but St. Joseph's, as you know, is just up around the bend, top of the hill of Corning, and certainly at one time this served that function. More recently, it looked like it served as a house, maybe a rooming house, a house broken into various different rooms for a lot of people to live, and it now has the happy fortune of being purchased by Avery Gilbert, who's here this evening with 2 children, although her husband disappeared. And their intent is to renovate it and make it into an up-to-date, albeit fitting the Hamlet house for them to live in, and raise their children in lovely Hamlet and Rhinecliff. So there are, as you know, a number of restrictions on anything that happens in the Hamlet. Everything gets a site plan review and special permit. Anytime anything is demolished, particularly if it's on the National Register as part of the Hamlet Historic District, it has to be reviewed for that. And so those are certainly parts of the applications here this evening. The National Register card on this property indicates that the main part of the house was built in either 1850 or 1880, doesn't quite specify which. There is at the back a one-story piece that was added, pretty obscured by the trees. It was in 1925, and that looks about correct. It's currently used as sort of laundry mudroom area. But that was added, and then subsequent to that, in the 60s, there was a concrete block garage built to one side. This is a fairly generous lot for the hamlet of Rhinecliff. It's 0.18 acres. Not huge, but it's certainly bigger than some of the neighbors. And the house sits right at the corner. The intent is to remove the one-story piece at the back, shown by the smaller dotted line, to remove non-contributing decks and porches that exist on both sides. They're sort of pressure-treated material, roughly put together within some time in the last 50 years. And to, in the place of those pieces, put a two-story addition to give a little more living space on the first and second floors to the house. So the overall footprint or ground cover is only very modestly increasing by removing the one-story addition, porch and deck, and then building a structure there that works with the house and just gives more living space. The net, or I should say the gross house area when we're done is, I think, 2130, which is below the stated limit for Rhinecliff. So the house tends to look a little larger than it is because of the porches that we're putting here. But the porches serve not only to shade the west and south light, but also gives some outdoor living space. And it is on the corner on the street, so I think they're going to have minimal impact. The point of these drawings is to show you a before and after a photo montage from the corner. This is looking from a little church that's turned into a house over here on the southwest corner, but looking at the house and then going up Corning Street and looking down toward the river. And in fact, there's quite a stand of very tall evergreens right along the property line, separating this house from the three sister houses up the hill. And there will be no impact on anyone's view that we can ascertain. I mean, even if the trees weren't here, there'd be minimal impact if you compare the view of this house at the corner. But with the trees, it really won't make any difference. And the intent is to preserve this large maple here, and also there's an evergreen which is removed from this view just so you can see the house, but it's right here. And the intent is we'll limb up some of the lower limbs so we're not bearing on the porch roof and the house roof, but they're pretty healthy. And it will just be, of course, working around them. We can avoid moving the tiers a little bit if we encounter major roots. So again, this view with the tree removed and this rendering with the tree removed is simply so you can get a better sense of the scale and shape of the finished product. But in fact, this is the reality. And as you can see, while this view was last summer and this tree was leafed out, even when the deciduous trees lose their leaves, these massive evergreens do their job in screening. So that's the plan. The piece at the back that's coming off is not actually historic. Our intent is to, right now it's vertical siding, it's not board and batten, it's just sort of tongue and vertical siding. The intent is to maintain that and to use that for the new piece in the back and to work as closely as possible with the evidence there is of what was there. There's not a lot of historic detail left in the house, but to the extent there is, we want to work with that and enhance it and be a good neighbor to the other neighbors in the hamlet. The elevations, which are not as easy to understand as 3D renderings, just show the four sides of the house. This facing Orchard, this facing Corning, this being the view uphill of Corning, and this the far side with the garage here, and then the proposed garage working on the existing footprint of the building. We're just increasing the height. There's a very shallow gable right now. We're increasing the height so there can be an upstairs sort of studio workspace, but there's no plumbing proposed for the garage. It's not intended to be an accessory dwelling or anything like that. And this view from Orchard shows you the front of the house and the relationship of the renovated garage behind it. And I'll be happy to entertain questions from the public.
Let's start with the board. Questions?
No, Jesse and I did the site visit, and it really looks pretty good. We were pretty impressed with the plans that are shown.
Any concerns?
Did we have any concerns?
There's no concerns.
Nancy? Any questions from the board?
No, I have a couple.
Okay.
I received in my mail, and I was not here for the last meeting, so I may be informed, but the garage, the drawings that I saw called it a studio. And what is that studio going to be used for?
This
Is it going to be a rental unit?
No,
Is it
no, it's
going
a
to
home office space.
be? Well, I think somewhere it should be documented that its purpose is thus, okay? Because there was no floor plan, it was just an outside rendering of the...
Sorry, I thought there was a
It's not stocked.
No, not to my knowledge. That's what I said. I may have missed a page, so I'm just making sure I understand.
I missed that in reviewing the application, Lauren, in that the applications for site plan, et cetera, simply refer to the single-family dwelling and the detached garage.
Right.
There was no mention in the application of the purpose of the second-story space being the studio, as you say, and home occupation. That will trigger, of course, a Class 2 home occupation being in a detached building.
Well, I'm not saying it's
which
a
will be
home occupation in the sense that they're going to have a business there. It's just a space. I mean, I don't, neither of them is going to have an occupation. They're operating out of the...
Okay, but if it is used ultimately for
Right,
any
of course.
commercial purpose,
Yes.
then it would
That's-
require a
that's not
special
the intent
permit,
at all.
the same as the Von
Yeah.
Stoddard case that was just here.
Right, no, there's no intent to have a business operated out of that place.
How much space do you have there? By the time you put in a staircase, is it meant?
Right, and it's what we use, it's about 345 square feet.
Very small.
Space.
The
Right,
staircase,
there's no plumbing in there.
the staircase will be internal?
It will be at the back. There's a door here, but the stairs at the back.
Change your
is up. So it's just
resolution.
kind of like an open loft, really. It's not open in the garage. You walk up the stairs to the floor space is left. It's an attic, but it's,
Okay.
it's not intended for any kind of business. It's certainly not any dwelling unit.
So we're gonna continue.
There's no plumbing anywhere else.
Well, I would say if it's going to be a loft, you might want to phrase it as a loft and not a studio, because studio kicks in a whole bunch of other concerns.
I'm happy to call it.
You just want to keep it all sorts.
Absolutely.
The inference being a home occupation, which then triggers the special use permit requirement.
By looking at the owners of the house, they've got a full-time occupation. Kids running around the house.
Kids playroom.
That's your own home occupation.
Kids playroom.
Never read the book of Room of One's Own, huh?
Any other questions from the board? All right, let's go down this list of,
You've got a number of reports that you asked for.
we've got noticing and posting, we're okay with that, Brendan? Okay.
The new sign is out.
Yeah.
You start at the back of the list. Dutchess County Planning. Referral response isn't here, 30 days have not expired. That means that there will be no consideration of any draft resolution that may appear in your meeting notes tonight, because those reports have to be provided within, 30 days has to be allowed for those reports. Anything from the town historian yet? Parks and Recreation? Okay. We're all, Waterfront Advisory, Conservation Board?
It's Davey joined us actually. So.
Do you have comments?
Shaking his head in the back.
I think,
But we don't have anything in writing.
no, I think I saw something, they just came in today, right?
There was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, board, did everybody receive the site visit comments? I know they were sent out.
Just late this afternoon.
Yeah, unfortunately, because the city manager was present for the site visit, Bill Dowden and Teresa Velarde could not be present tonight. That is why I'm stepping in for them to present the CAB's comments. I'll be brief because obviously you have it in front of you. From what was presented at the site visit, the planned renovation seemed to be in line with the surrounding houses. There's nothing too far out of bounds. There will be no changes to the landscape. The two mature trees that Warren showed will not be removed and will be saved during the time of construction. And there are no changes to the view shed for the owners or the surrounding houses. And the view from Corning Street, I was not there, but I believe you demonstrated this, Warren, that the view from Corning Street west to the Hudson River will not be obstructed by this plan. And as well, the CAB is under the understanding that the neighbors have submitted letters of support.
I have 3 that I'll be reading into the record.
Very positive. So other than that, those are all the site visit comments, and the board will have the consistency review final paper document for the file
Okay.
by the end of this week.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Any other comments before I read these letters into the record?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
The renderings, based on them alone, look wonderful. Really do. I mean, that house is kind of lame with the porches and stuff. It would be, in my opinion, a vast improvement over what it currently is.
I absolutely agree, and
Really
it
is.
seems so to the neighbors. Any,
Well, thank you, and thanks for work.
Okay, 3 letters.
Okay, the first letter is from Anna McClellan, dated Thursday, April 23rd, subject Gilbert Bendiner plans. To the planning board, I've just received the plan for Avery Gilbert and Zach Bendiner's renovations for 56 Orchard Drive. I am just delighted with the improvements and adaptations they are making, and I wholeheartedly support their project. Cordially, Anna McClellan, 52 Orchard Drive. Dear Brendan Carney, I live at 23 Corning Street, just 2 houses up the hill from 56 Orchard Street. I have been renting from owner Linnea Welker for the last 2 years and anticipate continuing to do so for the foreseeable future. As a close neighbor of Avery Gilbert and Zach Bendiner, I'm writing to voice my 100% support of their renovation plans for this property. Many thanks for noting my endorsement, as I won't be able to attend the public hearing in person. Good morning, Brennan. My mother told me that you were working at the planning board. How nice to come across your name. I hope all is well with you and your family, and that spring is finally happening in upstate New York. Looks like it was a lengthy winter.
Face is a sunburn,
And
right?
she hasn't asked for the recipe yet, but I'm writing the planning board in support of the plans for 56 Orchard Street in Rhinecliff. I'm so pleased that my neighbors, Avery Gilbert and Zach Bendiner, have bought the property and would like to restore the house. I've been watching it slowly degrade for years, and it would be wonderful for it to be updated, not only for the house, but for the neighborhood as well. I'm fortunate to have Avery and Zach as neighbors in Rhinecliff and appreciate their emotional attachment to the hamlet and its future. I trust them implicitly and know that they have the best interest of Rhinecliff in mind. I do hope that their proposal will be approved. Kind regards, Linnea Welker. That is all I have. So in light of the fact that we're waiting for a few more things, I think we'll be continuing the public hearing. Anything else, Art?
No, June 1st, 6:35.
6:35, June 1st. May I have a motion?
we had a man with a hand up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a comment. And it really has to do with getting that stupid Rhinecliff zoning law straightened out. I think this is great, and I think it should be approved. But under that law, all the porches are supposed to be counted as square footage and the basement, in which case you need a variance. So, how does the board want to deal with that?
Well, the basement here is just usually run, there's no functional space down there, that water runs through it.
Well, according to my proposal, when he interpreted our application, only the area of the furnace can be counted as the...
Right, well, it's one big room with the heating system in
But
it.
only the square footage of the equipment, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, I understand.
I only bring this up because this confusion in the zoning law should really be straightened out.
Warren,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, there is a determination, there was a determination by Ron, correct?
About what?
A zoning determination by Ron that this was okay to go forward.
I haven't heard anything.
Do you have a copy of that zoning determination?
Pretty sure.
We need to issue a denial letter. No, he just referred them to you all and didn't issue a denial
Can we
letter.
just refer this to him, pending his approval?
Well, he's already, yeah, I mean, he's already reviewed it for sure, so.
He's right, but without an approval.
Yeah.
But he,
Got a determination from him.
Right.
We need the
There's
determination.
the issue determination letter, other than the denial.
He normally does, yes.
He normally would, if he felt that there were zoning issues, he would have
That's right.
denied it.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying, from the positive end, does he have a form that he...
Not
forwards?
usually right now.
No.
Should he do something?
No, that's correct. He, hold it.
Oh,
April 1st, 2015. Office of the Zoning Administrator, Zoning Compliance Determination. This office has reviewed the submitted documents transmitted from the Planning Board office, including as follows, as prepared by Warren Temple Smith Architects. Basically, you list all the items, the applications, the escrow agreements, the letters, the various plans, C1, A1, A2, P1, P1, P2, P3, existing photos, renderings, etc. In accordance with the town's zoning law and the district schedule of use regulations, proposed building additions, renovations, and modifications are permissible, subject to site plan approval, special use permit, waterfront consistency review, certificate of removal demolition, and building permit.
Art, what's the date on that? So I can
April.
find. Am I copied on it?
April 1st, from the zoning administrator to the planning board chair.
Maybe.
Are you copied on it? You sent it to me. You emailed it to me.
let's see, this letter
With-
I
says,
an
will
attachment.
find it.
good morning, Brennan.
One of those evenings, huh?
Did you fail to copy yourself?
I have no idea what you're talking about, though. Email, thank you.
Okay.
There it is.
Well, we will share your concerns.
As I say, I definitely think it's a
Yeah.
great project and it should be approved. It's not about that at all. But everybody should have to play by the same numbers game. And this has been calculated differently than we were required to calculate ours. So I just think this needs to be straightened out.
Okay,
I think this is calculated the way it should be calculated.
I bet you do. All right, I think I was asking for a motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. We'll take this up again June 1st. And hopefully we'll have all of the,
You can have that. I don't need it.
okay,
No, I know I wouldn't have put it on the agenda if this didn't exist.
all right. So this take us back now to,
That's just going.
you want to go ahead to Dutchess County or the resolution for Whitman?
Oh, we got the resolution on Whitman, that's right.
Okay, so we're going back now for the draft approval resolution, and I can skip the first. I'll just get up to number 1.
Yeah, the only thing on the first, the only difference in the first paragraph is the reference at the end to the fact that this whole project is subject to the neg deck that was just issued.
There, subject of a negative declaration, determination of non-significance. Number 1, upon its review of the required coastal assessment form and consideration of input from the town's Waterfront Advisory Committee, deems the proposed undertaking to be consistent to the extent within the purview of the planning board with pertinent coastal policies set forth within the town's local waterfront program, LWRP. While doing so, the planning board acknowledges comments offered by the Town Waterfront Advisory Committee in its memorandum of April 28, 2015, concerning the location of a generator and underground propane tank, and refer these comments to the town building departments for its consideration with any recommended and/or required modifications in the site plan identified by the building department to be incorporated by the applicant in the site plan prior to its stamping and signing by the planning board chair. 2, in consideration of the application for wetland permit under Town Code Chapter 120, A, deems the proposed improvements principally being a portion of the related driveway and new garage within the wetland buffer to be essential components of the proposed project, and both the associated work and their installation and their long-term presence of no adverse impact on the adjacent wetland. B, grants the requested wetland permit as an integral complement of the site plan for the proposed project and conditional upon grant, what does that mean? And
Grant of
condition-
site plan.
Upon grant of site plan approval by the planning
The
board.
wetland permit doesn't exist without site plan approval in place.
Okay. 3, in consideration of the application for special use permit, Class 2 home occupation under Town Code Chapter 125A, Determines neither the use nor associated proposed work contravene any of the general standards for all special permit uses set forth at section 125-67 therein. B, further determines both the use as described in the record by the applicant and her representative and the proposed work to be in conformance with the supplementary regulations for all home occupations set forth in section 125-42 and the specific standards for a Class II home occupation set forth at section 125-68. G, therein, grants the above-cited special use permit pursuant to Chapter 125 of the Town Code and subject to the following conditions and/or requirements. 1, securing of site plan approval for the proposed work and subsequently a certificate of occupancy for the proposed artist studio. 2, operation of the Class II home occupation in strict accordance with the above-cited supplementary regulations and specific standard throughout its life. 4, in consideration of the application for site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, inclusive of the site plan, building plans, and sanitary sewage plans cited above. A, except for requirement the foundation course for the proposed driveway be specified, waives any further site plan requirements as might be construed to be set forth within Section 125-75C2 of the Town Code. B, approves the application for site plan approval and authorizes the chair to so note on the submitted site and building plans and provide copies thereof to the town building department and the applicant upon the applicant's satisfaction of the following conditions and/or requirements within 6 calendar months of the adoption of this resolution. 1, specification of the foundation course for the proposed driveway. 2, documentation of design approval by the Dutchess County Health Department for the proposed sanitary sewage improvements. 3, review by the town building department of the comments concerning the location of the generator and underground propane tank sent forth by the town's Waterfront Advisory Committee in its memorandum of April 28, 2015, and incorporation by the applicant of any related recommendations and/or requirements set forth by the building department for modification in the above-cited site plan prior to its presentation for stamping and signing by the chair. 4, payment of any outstanding fees or reimbursable amounts due to the town of Rhinebeck with respect to the submission, review, and processing of this application, as well as the above-considered applications for wetland permit and special use permit in accordance with the town code, the town's fee schedule, and executed escrow agreement. In taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the town zoning enforcement officer and/or building inspector as pertinent to issue a demolition permit for the existing shed, a building permit for proposed conversion of the existing garage to an artist studio, a building permit for the construction of a new garage, and certificates of occupancy for both of the structures upon his determination. All other codes, laws, rules, or regulations within the purview of the ZEO and/or building inspector, including but not limited to the requirements of the New York State Uniform Building Construction and Fire Prevention Code, have been satisfied, and all improvements set forth on the approved plan shall have been completed. And I'll pull the board. Need a motion first?
Yeah.
Got a motion?
Second. So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I'll pull the board. Richard? Woody?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
Sharon? Aye. And I'll vote aye. Thank you. You show up for the end. Okay. Moving into the regular session, other old business. Dutchess County Agricultural Society, Inc. Planning Board consideration of April 20, 2015 letter request for a 6-month time extension for satisfaction of conditions, NYSDEC and NYSDOT approvals set forth within resolution of November 17, 2014 in the matter of site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125 for proposed access improvements to Dutchess County Fairgrounds. Mark?
And then, when this aspect is decided, as set forth in my meeting notes, then Mark will have some consideration for the discussion with the board
Right.
of a modification in the tree maintenance and planting plan for this project.
Correct. So you want to start with the extension first?
Start with the extension.
Okay.
So,
It's pretty straightforward. Do you want to explain to the board why the extension is important?
well, we're still hopeful to have a DEC permit too. I think I have a complete application there with DEC, so it's just advertisement and issuing permit from the DEC, same with DOT. The anticipated start date for the work at the fairgrounds is June 15th. And it's scheduled from June 15th to be completed, all work to be completed by July 15th. The fairgrounds has already prepared some bid documents. It's been sent out, and an excavator has been selected and awarded the bid. So we're ready to go. Just waiting for some of the permits from both state agencies to finalize.
And the time extension is required in that it's possible that DEC and DOT will not have issued their permits by May 17th, which would be the termination date of the special permit, or it's actually the site plan, of the site plan, and consequently the 6-month extension would extend from May 17th to November 17th, thus covering the intended construction period as well as the
Any slippage that might
the way
occur.
of possibility, any problem that might occur.
Obviously, if there's, work isn't completed by July 15th, Fairgrounds has some events, and then any work to be finalized would be probably after the Sheep and Wool Festival.
Which is pretty short.
Maybe some things can be done between the Dutchess County Fair and the Sheep and Wool Festival, or
But once those permits are secured, the planning board condition will be satisfied anyway.
Okay.
You want to vote on that separately?
Yes, so there's a separate, yes, you have a draft resolution that deals with this on page 13.
Okay, I have a draft resolution. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows in the matter of the April 20, 2015 letter from Mark Kaminsky, P.E. and L.S. on behalf of Dutchess County Agricultural Society, Inc., setting forth a request for time extension for satisfaction of conditions and/or requirements set forth by Planning Board in its site plan approval resolution of November 17, 2014, in the matter of the proposed access improvements to Dutchess County Fairgrounds. 1, accepts the diligent effort being undertaken with NYSDEC and NYSDOT so as to satisfy the stated conditions and/or requirements as reasonable justification for the requested time extension for satisfaction of those conditions and/or requirements. 2, in consideration of the noted justification, grants a time extension of 6 calendar months encompassing the period May 17, 2015 through November 17, 2015 for satisfaction of those conditions and/or requirements. Okay, could I have a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, moving along here.
Okay, so in addition to that, we issued a request on behalf of the Dutchess County Agricultural Society as part of the development of the plan set for approval. In this case, it's specifically for the DOT approval, and if the board doesn't recall, part of the the application to the DOT was construction of a new turn lane for northbound traffic to enter into the new entrance located at the northwest corner of the Agricultural Society's property. In developing those plans to satisfy DOT requirements, there are a half dozen maple trees that are located on the west side of the fence of the fairgrounds, so located in the state right of way. All efforts were made to save those trees and have them, part of the improvements, just to keep the existing trees there. However, when you consider the DOT criteria for the turn lane and also a shoulder and some grading and drainage that's proposed along there, it's highly likely that the trees will be damaged and may survive for a while, but I think the new construction will affect them. They're affected a bit now. So what the Ag Society is proposing is for some new trees to be planted on the east side of the fence. In other words, on the Ag Society's property, along that city, portion of property. The new trees would extend from the new entrance all the way to where the helipad is there, almost to the existing main entrance of the property. And I've shown a location of those trees on these plans. And if you could all share down here, if you switch the page. What is this? Sheet 4 of 6. If you go to sheet 4 of 6 of the plan. Right here are the trees proposed. What the Ag Society is proposing is they'd like to plant sugar maples, and there are a total of, I believe there's 10 of them, 10 sugar maples. 4-inch caliper. Trees are 15 to 20 feet in height. And they're spaced 60 feet on center.
I think that's great, but now when you drive through that section, I have to look at that ugly fence instead of the... Is the fence staying right where it is?
Yeah, the fence is close to the property line.
But it stays, it's not being moved back.
The only section that there's some reconstruction of the fence is where, to accommodate the new entrance. That's it.
Can you move it and incorporate a couple trees on the outside to block a little bit of that long tree?
That would be in the state, wouldn't that be in the DOT right away?
It'd be
It's in the right of way.
They're in the state. It'd be in the state right away.
Yeah, but you're moving the fence back,
No, the fence stays where it is.
but the entrance, you're moving the fence back.
I'm removing some fence just to accommodate the tournament. That's it.
Everyone in the community that has been involved since they've changed the traffic pattern up there says it's vastly improved, even the way it is right now, over what it was.
That's what I've heard. I've heard the same.
I made it through there this weekend. I panicked because I got stuck, and I went through it in 5 minutes.
Well, I think what's proactive, I mean, it's in the state right away. The state could take them down at any
Take them down
time.
tomorrow morning.
So this is a proactive approach to actually get that alley there, I think, which is going to, I mean, I get your point, but it's still going to provide
You're
screening.
absolutely right. If we say, no, well, we don't like it, and they die anyway, then they don't have to put up trees.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's a, they're not
Trees through a
mature
fence
yet,
is
but it's a
better
10
than
for,
trees.
it's a 2 to 1.
Right, you're taking down 5 and putting up
I
10.
think it's a very reasonable approach.
20 foot?
15 to 20.
Nice.
Does anybody have any concerns?
No.
When I met with you and Art, we did actually try to, we stopped at your office. And we're looking for you and that. So let me see if you know.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Ryan.
I'd just like to sit down with Montana's property on the other side of the road and just review our facility.
Okay. You're okay with that. Terrific. Okay.
The board finds the modification acceptable. For the record, there should be an action by the board authorizing this modification in the plan that was conditionally approved, authorizing that this modification be set forth in the plan that's actually submitted to Melody for stamping.
Are you saying that? Are you putting that in the form of a motion?
Well, that was quite a motion, I would think. But,
Could you put it in the form of a motion?
the planning board has reviewed and accepted a modified
Modification of the conditional,
modification of the
conditionally approved site
of the
plan.
landscape plan to the south of the proposed entrance to substitute, to permit the removal of 5 existing trees outside of the fence, on the DOT right-of-way and located outside of the fairgrounds fence, to substitute for those 10 what? 10,
5 existing trees on DOT right away and outside the fence.
right, did I say substitute? You're substituting for those 10 sugar maples planted at a 60-foot interval inside of the fence.
60-foot what?
They're at a 60-foot interval.
Inside fence.
Yeah. Just so there's something in the...
Sure.
Somebody want to make that motion? Now that it's already written. Thank you, Eric. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you. I'll leave, I have a stamp set that shows those improvements. I'll leave that in front of you.
Okay.
And then I have final drawings, so we'll have permits taken.
Okay, you taking the rest with you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Comes your problem.
Thank you.
Okay. And we're long past 7:05, so let's move on to presentation. This is an initial presentation of applications for site plan review and approval under Town Code Chapter 125 and wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 120 in the matter of Phase 1 of the Grassmere Farm Hotel development, the overall development proposed on a 250-acre parcel within the RA10 district and being the subject of the planning board's resolutions, issuing a statement of findings under seeker on March 3rd, 2014, and granting a special use permit, Country Inn 2, with conditions and/or requirements on April 7, 2014, planning board processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning and Town Code Chapter 120 wetlands. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening. Thank you. Well, this is the Rhinebeck property, which in total is about 600 acres. I think everybody's familiar with it. The applicant, everybody is this way, down here. I think everybody on the board is familiar with the special use permit process that began about a year ago with the Board of Special Use Permit. Since then, we've really been focused on the first training, learning that design with the scale for the project that is being done, that we felt would be viable economically, but also a lot of the process, especially from the issues for a project that would be paid over time. What we're here tonight to show is the stage of that project. What we have here is that applicant, this is the overall square footage, is around 16,000 square feet. This stone barn has about 30,000 square feet, even with existing house, still run into requirements that shown the draft master plan in the context of the special use permit. The big difference between what we're showing tonight and that is that we had some larger buildings that were here close to Grassmere. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we could design those buildings in a way that was positive to the property, kept the Grassmere building really front and center so that these buildings would be subservient buildings to Grassmere. It was something we struggled with. We really didn't want to be able to come up with anything that would help do about address the that historic type buildings. It's a problem because the Grassmere building is asymmetrical and sort of funky to add to over time. It's a hard building next to it, but it doesn't really impact the quality here. We ultimately made the decision that a better approach than it is to have integrated our separation from the building and any of the other buildings, that it allows to exist the way it exists today. This building really is the primary part of the property, but there's nothing wrong. That's what we did is continue to develop the area. But we moved over on this side, these are small garden houses. So these are between 5 and these are set, the main property use shed goes down this way. There's actually a lot of area really on both sides. You can't quite tell from the site plan, but it's expansive. And the idea was to create a small, really garden, we'll call them garden cottages, that would sit out here in the estate garden infrastructure. But when you were looking from Grassmere itself, you really wouldn't see them. They would be existing in the landscape. These buildings here are designed, these would be cedar-sided, really metal roofs, garden cottage buildings. These are similar construction in the sense that these would also be cedar-sided buildings. We're imagining that these would be built into the ravine, so they would sit up on pier footings in the same way that we are proposing pier footings and have been proposing pier footings for the eco cabins that line the pond. But they would then be able to actually be put into the ravine out of sight using the existing tree cover so that they wouldn't be visible at all from the manor house or from the estate grounds. And these we're calling the tree houses because they'd be cottages that could be rented by families, so they'd have a couple bedrooms in them, and they'd be set up in such a way that it would be fun for a family to stay there, their kids would enjoy it. So we're imagining these cottages here, and then these for larger pond cottages would be family units. These would be smaller, and then the units in the manor house itself would be more for romantic getaways or part of the business package. The other piece that's been revised is this building here, which is the spa building. And I've got renderings of all of this. For the spa building, we had originally got the special use permit that was 15,000 square feet. For phase 1 of the project, we're actually bringing it down to 5,000 square feet. So it's a smaller building, and the total room count in phase 1 is 39 rooms. And with the idea that we can then phase it over time as we establish the first part of this business. But really, the effort has been made to try to match a site plan we felt good about with a business model that will at least allow us to get the first phase of this up and going, and then can build onto that over time as we better assess demand and get a sense of what guests want. We didn't want to come out of the gates with something that was too large and that could struggle economically until we got more comfortable with the market. The other piece of it is that we had proposed originally a restaurant down in Stone Barns with a to-be-built event building. In this phase 1, we're just proposing that we fix up the Stone Barns, winterize them, put in the building systems, glass them in to help soundproof them so that we use in all seasons and use them as event space. So not have a big restaurant down in Stone Barns like phase 1. The restaurant would be up in Manor House. We had proposed a restaurant up there before. The restaurant would be entirely phase 1 of the project. The other difference is that we had 3 entrances, entrance 1, 2, and 3. Entrance 1 was to be used for the restaurant at the Stone Barns and for events. Since we're not building the restaurant in the Stone Barns, we're proposing that entrance 2 be used for for the event entrance as well as then all of the staff entrance and all the service vehicles will be coming out of Route 9 here. This, which was entrance number 3, originally we proposed this to be a two-way entrance and exit for hotel guests and then day guests who were using the property. During the approval process, we modified that to make this a one-way entrance, and that's still the plan. This is a one-way entrance only for guests of the property, and then they would exit out here onto Route 9. John is going to talk some more about the infrastructure, but I wanted to share then some of the imagery to probably better illustrate what it is that we're looking to do. This, I don't know if it's visible, but this is a view of what the garden cottages can be like really from around here. So you've already moved out from the manor house, and the main view is down in this direction, but the idea is that these are going to be very simple buildings that would be built into the landscape. So they really fit into the estate garden atmosphere of the property. These are then the elevations. These are the garden cottages themselves, simple buildings with the, with the sort of garden cottage vernacular, playing somewhat out the estate history of the farm street property. These are then the pond cottages, which are similar in terms of materials. Metal roof, and then it's either side.
Jonathan, I think we all got them in the package already.
Oh, yeah, you do, okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I thought you had... No, this is the same stuff. So, and these are the tree houses here, so same types of materials and the same, picture, same kind of look, the bigger picture sense, but it's like entrance coming in this way, and then people would be. This is the spa building, and this is, we're imagining this as a series of barn structures, similar materials to the pond cottages and the garden cottages. They're linked by the passageways. The room will be in here. This is an entrance. This is an indoor pool, and then this is the sort of spa lounge area where there'll be plunge pools and soaking tubs and a way to get treatment. And this is then a rose garden, which would be at a lower level than the rest of the spa. But really the idea behind this building is to create a continuity between all of these structures, but also play out some of the farm history of the property. And the reason it was designed the way that it is, this is sort of an interesting rendering here. And this, for people that know the property, this is where the green shed is on the property when you drive down the driveway. And this is an image that shows how that would feel today. And the big thing here is that there's a bunch of really nice old estate trees right here. And we really didn't want to do anything that would negatively impact these trees. And that was one of the things that we struggled with. We were looking at how some bigger buildings could be set through here. And the way that we've got it designed now, we moved this all back behind these trees. So the experience of entering here, really this is not very pleasant, this building. You don't realize it until you come down going on the other side of it to get a better sense of it. As it is right now, this would be a very low building sitting behind the trees. This is a closer up version of the walk from the manor house to the spa building. And this just illustrates the idea that these are farm buildings that are connected. These last images, this is one just showing the looking up from the ponds to the spa and the first of the pond cottages. This is what these would be like. So it's a very, and the idea with all of it is to really fit them into the landscape. And this helps to illustrate how that can happen. And then this is the same idea, but this shows all 4 of the pond cottages. So we go back here, this spot over here. And that's really it. From my John was going to talk more about the infrastructure of the property, how we're handling some of that. John has all the stuff. I know the engineer.
And any questions of John before we switch gears here?
Yeah, I'm a little, not confused, but what happened to the Echo Cabins Phase 1? They're not going to be out there?
Well, these are, the pond cottages are really the eco cottages.
Yeah, but you had a significant number of them now. You've reduced that number significantly, is that correct?
We have, but this is just Phase 1.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just trying to...
Yeah, and the plan really is to This is, we're looking at this part as being really part of a potential development zone moving forward. So we want to see what people are reacting to from a guest perspective, and then we can, the idea is that we can build some unit types that match where we're seeing some of the demand. It could be more of the family cottages if we're really getting a lot of family demand. If there's not as much demand on that side, then we'd be looking at building some smaller cottages. So the idea is that this will allow us to get out and sort of test the waters a little bit and see what people are reacting, hopefully positively to, and then
More positively, too.
more positive.
Sounds very wise.
So as John said, in phase one, we're really looking at 39 of the 110 potential lodging units that we have here, a 5,000 square foot spas, and 15,000 of the total. No large restaurant in the Stone Barn right now, just the 90-seat restaurant that we proposed in the Manor House, and renovation of the Manor House. And so obviously what that does for us is it changes our water and our wastewater demands for the project significantly. And based on that, last fall, John and I were talking one day, and he said, isn't there a way that we could do this without having to do a big wastewater treatment plant for phase one? It's very hard to phase a wastewater treatment plant. So last fall, we went out and we did some perk test and test pits on the property. Our first place that we looked at was down behind the stone bars, which are down in the lower part of the field, and those soils are very tight and slow perking. That really didn't make a lot of sense down there. So then we went up into the plateau behind the Manor House, and we went up and looked at the area in front of the Manor House, also to the north and the south. We did testing in there, and we've actually got very good perking soils, very, very good.
Once you go over the bank, you're done.
Once you go over the bank, you're done, but up on the plateau, we've got beautiful soils.
I live on the downside of that.
So given that, and given the fact that the permitting for a wastewater treatment plant and maintenance and everything else is rather laborious and expensive, we looked at doing two larger community wastewater systems here for phase one. Turns out that they're not even going to be as big as I originally thought. We're looking at about a peak here, about 15,000 gallons per day of water, which is less than half of what we believe we projected for the whole project. If we split that into two wastewater systems, we're looking at about a 5,000 to 6,000 gallon system here and an 8 to 9 on the other side here. Very easily accommodated with a dosed wastewater system. We would pull the Manor House, the 4 pond cottage, eco cottages, a potential small maintenance building we're going to have, and a portion of the spa to the front. And on the back, we would bring the stone barns and the tree houses and the other garden cottages to that. And so we accommodate very easily our wastewater flows without the expense of large wastewater treatment plants and all the rest of that. At the same time, we had some discussions with the village about alternate paths for water supply. Remember before we had thought that we would run a line out to Route 9, cross Route 9, all the way back up through into the village system. But as we really got into it more and we looked at different alternatives, there's actually a simpler way to eventually get out to a larger municipal system if we go out that road. In those discussions, as we were doing that, one of the things that came up is the idea of, for phase one, to keep the cost down for infrastructure, is to do day storage on site. With a 50,000 gallon storage tank, we can accommodate all of our day demands and all of our fire protection demands on the property without significant impact to any of the municipal system. It would be as simply as we would look at adding a new water line out to Mill Road, tying to the existing 4-inch out there. That 4-inch is an old line. But our draw from it would be in the evening hours. It would be scheduled so that it would pump water into the tank at night, fill up during the evening, and then it would be running enough water for the day storage for the whole facility, including for fire protection. In addition to that, as you know, last year we talked to the fire department, and one of the things that they had asked us to look into are dry hydrants into the ponds. We would do that also. The dry hydrants in, so if there's any, we have a redundant fire protection system. And so obviously we still have additional work to do on the water side of it. We have to meet with the county health department to review that. Additional work with the village engineer on the water supply system. But before we really put a lot of money into the analysis and design of that, we wanted to make sure that this board was comfortable with that approach and allow us to negotiate. So that's the water on the wastewater side. Stormwater is going to be accommodated with a lot of smaller practices. Low impact design is key in stormwater management, and that's what we're going to do here. The existing Main Road that comes in all the way up to where we make our connection here, we intend to keep that very much as it is right now, a one-way road coming in, very low impact of stormwater. The rest of the roads that we have in the system, we're looking at doing a simple chip seal. So we can do it on the 4 sub-bases, so we can do it on a regular road, not an asphalt top, we can do a chip seal, we can do it on some chip seal. Very simple, very low. That's mainly to keep the dust down and our maintenance down for when it's plowed. We'd love to do it all gravel, but trying to make this happen. Those practices then, we would use just shoulder ditches and surface drainage, bioswales, to sand filtering systems and to one low depression down in this area here that would be infiltration. Same thing, we have very good soils that infiltrate, so we're going to recharge that water into the ground. And so our stormwater impacts will be very, very minimal. Manage most of it within the existing area with very low overflow and large vents. And they're all natural, big stormwater management basins and piping infrastructure. And then the only other components that we have on here would be site lighting. We want to keep site lighting here to a minimum. It needs to be very pedestrian oriented. Main road coming in, we're looking at trying to keep that down to just a level sufficient so people can drive in. John would like to explore, as you get into the site a little bit, some uplighting of the trees, existing trees, just to get a better feel for it. But then once you get onto the main property development area, it would be low-level lighting. It would be very low pole-mounted lighting. It would be kind of pole-mounted bollards, uplighting the trees, things like that, to keep that really a much more romantic feel to that site and commercial feel. The only other area that I think that we would have some higher levels of lighting that would be down in stone barns and parking areas. And I think the only thing that John didn't mention also is that as we're looking at a programming standpoint, originally we had valet and employee parking up in the upper portion here, maintenance building up in here, and we had the spa here. As we looked at the distance between things, the logistics of doing staged valet parking and employee parking and everything else way out here at the end didn't make a lot of sense. It's too far away. Also, if this is going to be our entrance, one of our entrances for phase 1, primary entrance, the first thing you see when you come into the room is want to be a maintenance building or a parking area. This area here where the spa was proposed before, if you've been in there lately, you'll see that there's quite a bit of blow down, some old trees that are in there. So it made a lot of sense to clean that out, to use this for our valet and guest parking back in here, in a similar area, tuck back behind, landscape quite a bit more, do it go again. And then we're looking at a small maintenance building there that again has that barn architecture, which would block the view of the portion of that.
It's employee parking as well there?
That would be employee parking. At this time, we're showing approximately 200 permanent parking spaces on the property. We envision that we're going to have a lot of overlap between what happens in the event pavilion, that's all it's going to be now, and the rest of the property for the cottages and the manor house. We have ample room to expand that, and what we would look at is for large events, if we have anything where we need the overflow parking just on one line. So we'd like to propose that right now, again, to keep that infrastructure down until we really evaluate how the project will utilize parking. We have smaller parking areas now closer to the manor house. Intent being that during the week, because there's going to be limited use and lower uses during the week, that people guests can self-park. And then if we have a large event, we have a party or something like that, rents out the entire facility, that's a time when we probably have valet park. But other than that, we don't really see this stage, phase 1, that demand that we're going to have should the whole project be built out.
Question?
With now down to 2 entrances instead of 3, does the entrance onto Route 9 trigger some sort of traffic control at the intersection of it?
Absolutely not. We did include in here an updated traffic study. Just to give you an example, I have a updated comparison table in here so that it's easy for everybody to see. In the full build-out of the original project on your weekday PM peak hours, we were looking at a total of 66 trips on that project per hour, which broke down into 34 entering, 32 leaving. And then on the weekend, when your flow is going to be higher, we were looking at 138 total, that was 77 entering, 69 exiting, and that's in the peak periods. That by itself really doesn't trip any need for traffic signals or anything extra. In the project that we're looking at right now, the generation is significantly lower. On weekdays, you're looking at a total of 22 trips in the period, and that's 12 and 31, I believe, so very low volume. Part of that, by the way, is because of the kind of use you have here. It doesn't correspond with your commuter patterns. We don't have a lot of guests that are leaving here or coming back when your peak employees are leaving a business or a job. On the weekend, similar. You're only looking at a total of 45 PM trips, and that's 25 entering and 20 exiting. So the flow is very, very limited in the volume on those So again, the third entrance would have easily accommodated all that extra traffic that we would have for a full build-out, because the biggest generator of traffic would be when you have a large event and the restaurant, and the large restaurant, and neither one of those are proposed.
Eric, I
The
thought...
on-site water storage, how is that going to be done?
If you see right here, actually, when you think about it, 50,000 gallons sounds like a lot, but it's really not that big of a volume. A small brown tank right here, 50,000 gallon. We're envisioning that a good portion, if not the whole thing, could be subsurface. We have a little pump building here, a little maintenance building, so we would come in from and maybe feed to that.
So
That's
that-
where we would regulate it for treatment.
The system will be pressurized with a pump then?
Yes, it would be pressurized for fire protection, yes.
Karen?
So the town's happy, you're still paying for water, or municipal water, but you're doing it at night, and regardless of how you do it, you're still going to pull X number of gallons in.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Do you have to do anything for the water? Do you have to treat it at all, or because you're pulling it every day, you don't?
No, we're pulling it every day, so no. And it's treated when it comes from
You said 50 on sanitation. The overall use is going to be 20 per day?
No, the overall use here is about 15,000, 15. But you have to have you've got heating and you've got fire protection for those too, so that's what that protection
So
system
this what they require somewhere around 20, 25, 30 for the fire?
For the fire, yes. And the other thing too is, if you have a fire here and the fire suppression system comes on, fire alarms go off, everybody's out of their buildings, nobody's in there to take showers.
That's the good news.
You said there's redundancy with the fire suppression with the pond system as well. Is that prioritized to go first to potable water for suppression and then to pond, or
The very first thing that would happen is it would pull out of the tanks, yes.
is there a reason for that?
Is there a reason for the redundancy?
No, the reason for going for potable water to put out fires rather than pond water to put out fires.
Yes, because you're going to have a fire suppression system, which is a sprinkler system, that will come on automatically.
That's it.
The ponds don't function until an engine gets there and you're tied in the pump.
Okay.
So you want a system that's going to automatically trigger. And then
It puts it out faster too, because it's better water.
Better water, yes.
Chemicals in there.
Sharon?
The entrance for the event will be at the Route 9?
Yes, everything, all the significant traffic will be.
Is it still future expansion, the use of the other entrance?
Yeah, what we would think is if we do end up expanding the sale market to a restaurant and do a separate event facility, then we would tie in. Yeah, then we would make that happen. It's about a half mile on the run. It's a big undertaking to establish this whole drive. But yeah, so but we kept all the event traffic coming up.
gonna read those two pillars that are out on Route 9 there? As you read
These
this,
two right here?
you have to move them up, fatten them out a little.
Yeah, actually, these guys are big, they help
Nice when you get neighbors like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the one thing I'd like to talk about, obviously, smaller projects, less of an impact on the properties. There are no there's still 2 acres of buffer area that can impact on this. Over an acre of that is existing conditions, so improving the roadway network, improving the roads, stormwater, widens that a little bit, so the police of buffer.
In your village discussions for the fire protection water, you're talking about replacing your current 4-inch line with a 6-inch line.
Actually, the line that comes into the grassroots is only a small domestic service line.
Okay. When I read your paperwork, I thought I read 4 inches coming out the side, but that's beside the point. Middle Road is a 4-inch line. It's part of arteriosclerosis, which says it's a 2.5-inch line, it's that big. I think if you go out to Route 9, at that intersection, there's probably a larger main out there.
But there is, and it requires a couple of things, and that's why we're hoping that we don't have to do that right now because of the expensive. We have to direction drill underneath Route 9 to get to the other side where that line goes.
That's right, it's on the other side, so
We
on the
have
second
jacket pits, we have filters on it. I know it is a 4-inch line, but it does have calcifications, so we're trying to get down to a 2. We're going to analyze and design our withdrawal based on a 2-inch line. And that was part of what we talked about.
Safe engineering.
And so rather than a 4. The line that we will bring in, by the way, will be a 6-inch line, just so that we have that line in the future does get replaced. The village will not afford that. Well, it also depends on the demand. So we start to generate some revenue. There will be a small pool on the property that, again, using the original design, that would be that pool, backflow, flushing requirement, that will go above wastewater systems.
When would you like to break ground?
I'd like to break ground by the end of summer.
Other questions?
I guess you have to have pump stations from the barn, clear everything up for the
Well,
sewage?
barns up, yes, we'll have an effluent fuel station that goes up to the tanks. The tanks, there's, on this plan right here, you can see 3 little dots right here. That's where those tanks would be. You would have an effluent pump tank that you pump up to. That would then go into a septic tank, and that would then go into a dosing tank that doses the fuels.
And the water line is going to be 6-inch on your property, but it's coming off the 4-inch that's along the road on the town property.
You have a reducer or something for in the interim? Like you don't want to suck that, you have a reducer?
Well, the water.
You don't want to take all the water from
Fills
it.
whatever void you give it. So you wouldn't want to put a 4-inch line in with a future potential 6-inch line that's going to go on. So the size of that pipe really isn't the factor. The issue is when you draw that water off. And so the whole idea is to draw that water off way off.
I'm just worried that if we just water pressure up here.
Yeah.
So that's always been the whole ordinance discussion, that we can draw it then, use it during the day, so when they're drawing from this line today, or not.
How is it going to be regulated so that you're not drawing during the day?
It'd just be standard engineered design for a time system.
Okay.
The big solenoid valve.
Yeah, just a timer on the valve system.
Is the village, have you talked to the village yet?
No, that's part of the discussions that are going to be ongoing.
I can see them being worried if they have a 4-inch feet in the 6, that valve opens up, you could empty out everything downstream from Grasmere.
But the other thing that you're going to do is, you don't just open up the valve and let it just freeze. You regulate the amount of flow. And that's one of the reasons why you do that. So you can pull it off at a slower rate. In a peak demand here, you're looking at about 19 gallons per minute. If you were going to pull this off and fill a tank of 19, probably be around 5 gallons per minute. So your peak demand is accommodated by the capacity of this.
Does that water line end about at the top of the hill? The water, the village water line, if it doesn't go down the hill?
I actually don't know how far it goes. I'm sure there are feet in this all the houses that are just down past the cemetery.
I think airports is probably the last one that might be attached to it. It does not go down over the hill to the best of my knowledge. Because there's nothing down there to serve it. No sense of it.
Okay, Laura?
The intent this evening was for the planning board to become acquainted with what is now proposed phase 1. That's kind of step 1 in the process. Step 2, about my way to deal with step 2 and ultimately get to step 3. Step 2 is really the need to review in detail the submitted materials to determine, one, whether the materials are complete, the submission is complete in terms of the requirements for wetland permitting and site plan review under the town zoning law. Secondly, to assess from the town's perspective and the planning board's perspective whether the preliminary engineering that's been proposed is sound. And third, to determine how this modified phase 1, or how phase 1 fits into the framework of the overall finding statement under seeker and the overall special permit that was issued last year. Step 3 in the process would be then to move on to the matter of required referrals, conduct of public hearing, ultimately decision by board. In order to allow that interim step, the completeness review, the preliminary engineering review, the assessment of the consistency of this plan or the fit of this plan with the finding statement, what is proposed, based on the discussion that Melody and I had, was that the planning board would refer the submitted package to planning board engineer Ray Chakowski and myself for detailed review between now and May 28th. That happens to be a Thursday. We have our reports in the board's hands and copies to you folks. By then, on June 1st, at the meeting of June 1st, there would be a work session of the planning board with you obviously in attendance for purposes of actually seeing if there is completeness and if the preliminary engineering makes sense and does it fit seeker. If the answer to those is yes, then the board would move to the scheduling of a public hearing for that second June meeting, the June 29th meeting. If the answer to those questions is almost, not quite, but almost, the applicant would be given 2 weeks to provide some supplemental information, some additional information, in which case the public hearing would still go forward on June 29th. If the answer is no, we reiterate the process. But, you know, we assume that would be one of the first two. That's kind of the scenario that we outlined, which I think is consistent with your interest in continuing to pursue matters with the health department, the village, et cetera, and get this project moving in a very positive way forward without maybe some irreversible decisions being made. So that's what the draft resolution provides that. And
Do you have any questions about that timeline?
No, I think that's
Works for you?
And not surprisingly, their draft resolution includes the requirement of escrow for purposes of that review. And it was coincidence that Ray and I had identical estimates for so we're looking at a $4,200 escrow deposit for purposes of getting through that part of the review process. That's the blank in the resolution.
But I'll fill in when I get to it. Are we ready for it?
Oh, and the other thing here is that while there is technically no zoning determination required here by the ZEO in that the special use permit has already been issued for purposes of information, and whatever comment he may choose to offer, the submission is also being referred to Ron.
Okay, are you ready? All right, Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board hereby acts as follows on the applications for site plan review and approval and wetlands permit submitted by Mensch Grassmere LLC on April 20, 2015, in the matter of Phase 1 of the proposed Grassmere Farm Hotel development, as subject to prior planning board resolutions, issuing a statement of findings under seeker on March 3, 2014, granting a special use permit Country Inn 2 with conditions and/or requirements on April 7, 2014, and extending the period for satisfaction of those conditions and/or requirements on April 6, 2015. 1, accepts for the limited purpose of initiating completeness and preliminary technical review by the town planning consultant and planning board engineer, the submission consisting of the application.
You could ignore the list.
Ignore the list. 2, refers the submission to the town planning consultant and planning board engineer for said completeness and preliminary technical review, with a review memorandum to be submitted to the planning board not later than Thursday, May 28, 2015.
Oh, and I think with copies then released to the applicant.
With copies then released to the applicant. 3, as a prerequisite to the undertaking of said completeness and preliminary technical review, requires the applicant to confer with the town escrow clerk and ensure $4,200 is available to defray the estimated cost of the review. 4, provides a copy of the submission to the town zoning enforcement officer, principally for information purposes, but also for any comment he may deem timely. 5, schedules a planning work session with the town planning consultant and planning board engineer during its regular meeting of June 1, 2015, to discuss the requested completeness and preliminary technical review comments concerning the submission and, as may be appropriate, consideration of subsequent actions which may include acceptance of the applications, required referrals to Dutchess County Planning, the CAB, and the WAC, authorization of the conduct of any more detailed technical review that may be identified as needed, and schedule for a public hearing. 6, more specifically, either of 3 scenarios might occur on June 1, 2015. Should the planning board determine on June 1, 2015 that the applications are acceptable for the making of required referrals and the scheduling of public hearing with an anticipated date of June 29, 2015, no interim submissions would be required from the applicant. 2, should the planning board find the applications to be substantially complete but somewhat deficient in one or more of its elements, the applicant would be required to submit to the planning board any required modification or supplementation identified during the work session of the above-cited documents not later than Tuesday, June 15, 2015. 3, should the planning board find the applications to be incomplete in any substantial way, the initial completeness review process outlined in this resolution would be at least in part reiterated. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much.
Grab this one back.
We have no new business scheduled. We do, however, have some ZBA referrals for review and recommendation. Okay. Do you all have copies of these? All right. First is Suzanne Welker, 7884 Lemon Lane. Area variances to construct proposed in-ground pool on residential premise in the RA10 district, case 884. All right. Let's see. So this is 3 area variances related to the installation of an in-ground pool. Side property line setback of 20 feet, where 100 feet is required for accessory structures, where only 3 are authorized, and an increase in square footage of all accessory structures to beyond the maximum authorized 1,500 square feet. And 5 additional area variances required by the DEO to address existing conditions involving the 1.852 acre Walker residence. Art?
Nothing there that I regarded as out of character with the neighborhood. It's largely circumstances largely caused by changes in zoning have occurred on the property. We're dealing with a parcel that is 20% of what is now the required lot area, and trying to live within the dimensions established for a 10-acre lot when in fact you're living with a 2-acre lot. The only possibility is that, and I did not look at this in the field, the side property line setback could be of concern to a neighbor, and as mentioned in the draft resolution, of taking into account any concern that might be raised by a neighboring property owner.
Anybody else, any thoughts, concerns?
That was my major concern, is that it's a lot closer to a neighbor's property than it is.
Right, yes.
But it has to be fenced and everything, right? That's pool codes.
Have to be. So, number 3 is essentially a resolution, right? That's the way you're presenting it?
You have a resolution that begins with, you've reviewed.
Right.
You reviewed the request, you've done
All
the
right, town
proposal.
of planning, Town of Groton, go ahead, Joe, read this.
You don't have to read it, no one's here.
No one's here. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Ronan. So has everybody had, everybody had a chance, has everybody had a chance to look at this 3-point resolution,
Yeah.
proposed resolution? Can I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. The second one, Nadeem Aruz, 601 Accurate Hook Road. Art?
Now, this one is, as it says here, 3 area variances that relate to the proposed construction of the garage. There may be some things here that could be a concern to the neighborhood, I don't know. The height of the garage, 24 feet 8 inches, is 1 versus 20, where 20 is allowed. The accessory building is closer to the fronting street than otherwise authorized. The accessory structures on the lot total more than the general limitation established for the district, and that general limitation is not even authorized in this particular circumstance because the residence itself is less than the authorized limit of the for accessory structures, which is how the law is written. I think one of the keys here is obviously the ZBA has to take into account neighboring input. But the other question, the other point that from a planning board standpoint or anyone else's standpoint is there are no significant planning or environmental issues associated with the garage, and if it's intended to be strictly for residential purposes, and you start looking at the height of the building, et cetera, perhaps that's not the intent.
What's the purpose for a 24-foot high?
That's a good question.
But you
Yes.
certainly have cited that in your...
Flagging that for consideration by the ZBA. You flag it, ZBA is therefore going to ask the question at least.
Special consideration in history, the house that was constructed for the first entry living.
Oh, is that where it is?
This is the house. That was constructed for Country Living magazine.
Yeah.
Right.
Last year, this is the house that they bust everyone out to
Right.
So this is like an event building we're talking about potentially?
Oh, no,
No, it was a house, it was built.
it's a tiny
Yeah.
house.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's very
the
small.
garage.
Oh, the
1,400 square
garage.
feet.
And why would you, I mean,
Why would you build
in
it?
all fairness, if I could have a 30 by 40-foot garage, I can park my cars and tractors and all this stuff.
Keep
I think it'd be
everything up
great.
there. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
But, you know, I think what you already said was spot on, and that is, it's up to the neighbor.
It's up to the
You
neighbors.
should take the
and,
input from the neighbors, as long as, you know,
Well, and when you say intended for strictly residential purposes, you're meaning the garage is...
The garage.
The garage. You don't mean the garage is residential. You mean it's associated.
Yes.
Not to be used for commercial purposes.
it's an accessory dwelling, right? I mean, they could use it to put, somebody could have an apartment out there, that's legal. Right now, they're just putting up a building. So they're not doing commercial use.
Right.
This sounds like, if you're familiar with the Hess Station in Kingston off Albany Avenue, if you go down the street behind it, there was a little tiny house there, and the guy put a garage up next to it that was 3 times bigger than the house.
Right, yeah. Art is suggesting that paragraph 1 have added to it at the end is intended for strictly residential purposes and not intended for any commercial purpose. Any commercial purpose. We're recommending that that be added on to that.
Maybe we bring down, like, do they see the whole thing? Can we bring, do they see that, the principle, yeah.
I mean, it is RC5 anyway. By doing anything commercial, they're breaking zoning law.
It's just okay to put it in there, because this is our, resolution back to the zoning board.
They own the property.
Right. With that change in mind, could I have a motion to...
The motion is fine.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? And last, Patricia and Douglas Goodamote, area variances to allow proposed addition to single-family dwelling in the RC5 district.
Now, in this case, they have a lot of less than a half acre already developed with a single-family residence in the 5-acre district. Ron has first flagged 4 non-compliances that he wants addressed as part of this consideration, and those relate to the fact that the lots less than I say 10 acres here, it's actually less than 5. The lots less than 5, the house is 7 feet away from the lot line where 50 is required. Lot coverage is beyond the 7% authorized in the district. Front setback of the house is 15 feet instead of the 100 that's required. And Ron is saying that those matters should be addressed by the ZBA in tandem with, or in fact before, the ZBA considers the 2 area variances that are related to the proposed construction of the kitchen addition. Those being the side property line setback of the kitchen addition will be 10 feet instead of 50. Actually, 10 feet is more than the 7 feet of the existing house.
Oh, my Lord.
And that the lot coverage, and it's not 128, it's complete.
I was trying to figure out how that
Lot
happened.
coverage is going to 18%.
Okay.
Or 7%.
Yeah, I was wondering about
The
that.
bottom line is these
He's
folks
onto the
want to put a 150-foot or whatever it is addition on their kitchen to expand their kitchen. Doesn't raise any community issues, any environmental or planning issues. There's certainly practical difficulty involved for them in terms of the existing circumstances of their non-compliant parcel.
How big is the existing house?
The existing house would be, all of the structures on the property, and that includes the structures, coverage includes driveway, et cetera. So it's 7% of 4.44.
You said it went to 18%. We're talking about doubling? That can't be.
It's at 18.
No, it's already in excess of 7. And it didn't say it's at 7. It's already in excess of 7. It's presumably supposed to be about 15 now or 16.
So, but does anyone know the house?
No.
I mean, is it a tiny little house that it warrants this?
Yeah, we've got the, it was a Is it like a 12 or 1,500 square
Yeah,
foot,
it's
something in that
small,
range,
it's
you
a-
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small house.
Yeah. Any concerns?
They'll be coming, why we know it's a 12 or 15, we did meet with the property owner a couple of months ago, and they were calling us to go to the ZBA before they can come to the planning board, because there's a buffer situation involved here, a wetland buffer situation.
Just a quick question in terms of when there's, on these situations where neighbor input is going to be a major concern, is there any effort for outreach to those neighbors, or?
They indicated they've already spoken with their neighbors.
Okay.
Obviously, when they get before us,
Is this one of those houses that sits on the left-hand side, going up the hill and looks down over the pond?
I can't say. But they, and of course, there will be notification to neighbors once they come before us.
So those neighbors are specifically notified about?
Absolutely. For the zoning, yeah, they will have been notified for the zoning.
500 feet, right?
Yeah, here's a,
There's a lot of space between those houses on that road. Right. There only be one or two neighbors.
the existing residence is 1,515 square feet.
Well, not too bad.
They're not doing a huge addition then.
Huh?
They're not doing a huge addition.
No, no.
And the addition is 272 square feet.
Okay. You've read the resolution, could I have a motion?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being no further business, I would turn to Woody.
Okay, before we do that, I just have one simple question. The mining criteria in the town of Rhinebeck, not that thing out there on Slate Quarry, but just to get a mining permit, what is the amount of dirt, the soil? Is it 200 cubic yards?
200 cubic yards is the major excavation.
Okay, that's all I need to know. I was having a discussion with somebody today, they thought it was 1,000. They said 200?
Yeah,
That's
200.
nothing, that's 9 truckloads.
Yeah.
It's the installation of the septic system, or less.
Okay,
Okay, make a motion, we adjourn.
second?
Really, if you're not going to do your job, then,
All those in favor?
You know, sometimes I have to get extra. I'm on
Thank you,
overtime,
everyone.
that's why.